Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I will be showing you every single steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studios talked about. First, we're coming up with the first steam locomotive which is ever seen before. The first steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studios talked about was the St. Louis San Francisco Railway number 1522. The Frisco 1522 is a 482 mountain type wheel arrangement T54 class, aka 1500 class steam locomotive, built and manufactured by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1926 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the St. Louis San Francisco Railroad, also known as the Frisco. It operated on the St. Louis San Francisco Railroad and the St. Louis Steam Train Association until it was retired after 25 years of service in 1951. In 1959, when the 1522 was sold for scrap, it was saved and donated to the National Museum of Transportation in St. Louis, Missouri, and placed on static display. After 36 years of being on display, the 1522 was brought back and restored to operating condition in 1987, and later retired after 15 years of excursion service in 2002. As of today, it is currently on static display at the same place where it was donated to after the saving from its scrapping. The second steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studio talked about was the Canadian National 3254. The Canadian National 3254 is a 282 Mikado type S1B class steam locomotive built and manufactured by the Canadian Locomotive Company in 1917 in Kingston, Ontario for the Canadian National Railroad. It operated on the Canadian Government Railroad, Canadian National Railroad, Gettysburg Railroad, and the Steamtown National Historic Site until it was retired from revenue service in 1958. Until it was restored to operating condition in 1985 and later retired from excursion service in 2012. As of today, it is currently on static display at the Steamtown National Historic Site in Scranton, Pennsylvania. The third steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studio talked about was the Nickel Plate Road 587. The Nickel Plate Road 587 is a 282 USRA light Mikado type H60 class steam locomotive built and manufactured by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1918 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the Lake Era and Western Railroad, as it was originally numbered 5541. It operated on the Lake Era and Western Railroad, Nickel Plate Railroad, Norfolk Southern Railroad, and on the Indiana Transportation Museum until it was retired after 37 years of service in 1955 and restored to its first excursion service in 1988 and retired from its first excursion service in 2002. As of today, it is currently stored and awaiting restoration as its private owner. The fourth steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studios talked about was the Reading Blue Mountain Northern 425. The Reading and Northern 425 is a 462 Pacific Type G1 class steam locomotive built and manufactured by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1928 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the Gulf, Mobile, and Northern Railroad. It operated on the Gulf, Mobile, and Northern Railroad, Gulf, Mobile, and Ohio Railroad, the Louisiana Eastern Railroad, the Valley Forge Scenic Railroad, and on the Reading Blue Mountain Northern Railroad until it was retired after 22 years of revenue service in 1950 until it was restored after 1 year of being on display to its first excursion service in the same year where it was retired, and later retired from its first excursion service in 1970 and after 20 years of its first excursion service, and restored to its second excursion service in 1984 and retired from its second excursion service in 1996 and restored to its third excursion service in 2007. As of today, it is currently undergoing a 1,472-day inspection and overhaul at the Reading Outer Station in Pennsylvania. The fifth steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studios talked about was the Grand Trunk Western 5629. The Grand Trunk Western 5629 is a 462 Pacific Type K4A class steam locomotive, which was a copy of the United States Railroad Administration's Light Pacific design, and which is built and manufactured by the American Locomotive Company in 1924 in Schenectady, New York for the Grand Trunk Western Railroad. It operated on the Grand Trunk Western Railroad and the Rail Club of Chicago until it was retired from revenue service in 1960 and later purchased by Chicago-based rail fan Richard Jensen, aka Dick Jensen. As of 1961, the Grand Trunk Western 5629 was restored to its first excursion service and operated by Jensen, and restored to its second excursion service in 1966. After 10 years of excursion service, the 5629 was sidelined, and has excursions ended up being canceled by Jensen, and Jensen placed the locomotive on display. Throughout the 70s, Richard Jensen ran into financial troubles over fixing the locomotive and restoring it to operating condition. As of 1977, Richard Jensen fell down the stairs, breaking his back while trying to help a friend move the refrigerator to the third floor, and later was hospitalized there, and then ended up with a disability and sat in a wheelchair. Throughout the 80s, Richard Jensen and Metra got into a significant fight over the locomotive, trying to get their hands on the 5629 and trying to move it without Jensen's approval, leading to Jensen's temper tantrum over moving the locomotive out of the yard. As of 1987, the Grand Trunk Western 5629 was tragically betrayed, abandoned, and scrapped by the salvage crew due to a legal battle between Richard Jensen and Metra, and Jensen lost his briefcase when he's trying to wear a lawsuit. As of 1991, Richard Jensen passed away due to poor health conditions at the age of 59, which means he can no longer operate his locomotives he purchased and is dedicated to his memory. The sixth steam locomotive came from Locomotive Studios talk about was the Nickel Plate Road 765. The Nickel Plate Road 765 is a 284 Berkshire Type S2 class steam locomotive, built and manufactured by the Lima Locomotive Works in 1944 in Lima, Ohio for the New York, Chicago, and St. Louis Railroad, commonly referred to as the Nickel Plate Railroad in 1963. It operated on the Nickel Plate Railroad, Norfolk and Western Railroad, Norfolk Southern Railroad, and on the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society until it was retired after 14 years of service in 1958. When the 765 was sold for scrap, it was saved and donated to the city of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and sat on display. After 21 years of being on display, the 765 was restored to operating condition in 1979 and ready for excursions. As of 2016, the 765 was renumbered as 767 because the original locomotive 767 was scrapped in Chicago in 1964, which was moved to the scrapyard in Illinois after its retirement in 1958. As of 2017, the 765 is renumbered as 765 because of its original number and preserved in operation. As of today, it is currently operational on the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which can be both displayed and operational. The seventh steam locomotive Thames Locomotive Studios talked about was the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway number 2716. The Chesapeake and Ohio 2716 is a 284 Berkshire Type K4 class steam locomotive, built and manufactured by the American Locomotive Company in 1943 in Schenectady, New York for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad. While most railroads refer to these 284 type locomotives as Berkshires, the C&O referred to them as Kanawha after the Kanawha River, which flows through West Virginia, until the 2716 was retired from it. It operated on the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, which is leased between 1943 and 1956. It operated on the Southern Railway, which is leased from 1981 to 1982. It operated on the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society, which is leased from 1995 to 1996, and operated on the Kentucky Steam Heritage Corporation, which is leased from 2021 to present, until it was retired from revenue service. After 13 years of revenue service in 1956. As of 1959, when the 2716 was sold for scrap, it was saved and donated to the Kentucky Railway Museum of New Haven, Kentucky, and placed on display. After 22 years of being on display, the 2716 was restored to its first excursion service in 1981 and retired after 1 year of its first excursion service in 1982 until it was restored to its second excursion service in 1996 and retired in the same year where it was restored to its second excursion service. As of today, it is currently undergoing restoration to operating condition at the Kentucky Railway at the same place where it was donated to after being saved from being scrapped. The 8th steam locomotive tank locomotive series talked about was the Pere Marquette 1225. The Pere Marquette 1225 is a 284 Berkshire Type N1 class steam locomotive built and manufactured by the Lima Locomotive Works in 1941 in Lima, Ohio for the Pere Marquette Railroad. It is one of the surviving N1 classes alongside the 1223, which is on display at the Tri-Cities Historical Society in Grand Haven, Michigan, which operated on the Pere Marquette Railroad, Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, and on the Steam Railroading Institute until it was retired after 10 years of service in 1951. In 1955, when the 1225 was sold for scrap, it was saved and donated to the Michigan State University in 1957 and placed on display. When the 1235 was on display at MSU, it was found by a child named Chris Van Allsburg, who was capable of publishing books. When Van Allsburg read the 1225 in his mind, it resembles and corresponds the date for Christmas Day. As of 1983, the Steam Railroading Institute purchased and sold the Pere Marquette 1235 from Lansing to Owasso, Michigan for restoration. After 2 years of restoration, the Pere Marquette 1235 was restored back to operating condition in 1985. As of 2004, it is well known for being famous. As of 2004, the Pere Marquette 1235 is well known for being famous as the inspiration, model, and basis for the locomotive seen in the 2004 American animated Christmas fantasy adventure film, The Polar Express, by Robert Zemeckis, which is based on the 1985 Christmas book of the same name, matching the title of the book by Chris Van Allsburg and earning its nickname, The Real Polar Express, due to its connection between the book and the film, and later ended up with its tender being relettered Polar Express due to its featureism in the book and the film. As of 2008, the Pere Marquette 1225 had its tender end up being relettered Pere Marquette and resembles the 17th century French Jesuit missionary and explorer. As of 2009, the Pere Marquette 1225, alongside sister engine Nickel Plate Road 765, operated and participated by pulling freight trains. And the 765 arrived at the Steam Railroading Institute for operating events alongside its sister engine, Pere Marquette 1225, and alongside the Daylight 4449, which operated on the Southern Pacific Railroad. As of 2020, the Pere Marquette 1225 was sidelined and not operating due to a COVID-19 pandemic at the Steam Railroading Institute in Owasso, Michigan, which the Steam Railroading Institute closed at Owasso. As of 2021, the Pere Marquette 1235 was restored back to operating condition after the Steam Railroading Institute opened up again and ready for North Pole Express excursions. As of 2024, the Pere Marquette 1235 was sidelined due to COVID-19 due to superheater issues, which the Steam Railroading Institute announced that the Pere Marquette 1235 will not pull North Pole Express excursions for the rest of the year. As of today, As of today, it is currently under maintenance at the Steam Railroading Institute in Owasso, Michigan, where it will be back for North Pole Express excursions for the 2025 holiday season. The ninth and last steam locomotive we were talking about was the Union Pacific 4014. The Union Pacific Big Boy 4014 is a 4884 Big Boy Type 4884 water class steam locomotive built and manufactured by the American Locomotive Company in 1941 in Schenectady, New York for the Union Pacific Railroad by Otto Jabelman. It is the biggest steam locomotive that operated on the Union Pacific Railroad until it was retired after 20 years of service in 1961. And later was donated to the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society after being saved before it was scrapped. Thereafter, it was displayed in Fairplex at the Rail Giants Train Museum in Pomona, California. As of 2013, the Union Pacific Railroad reacquired the Big Boy and launched the restoration project at its steam shop in Cheyenne, Wyoming. After 6 years of restoration, the 4014 was restored back to operating condition in 2019 and ready for excursions, and earning its nickname Big Boy. As of today, it is currently operational on the Union Pacific Railroad in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Well, guys, those are all the locomotives the Thames Locomotive Studios talked about. We have some steam locomotives that are active and inactive, operational and displayed, preserved and scrapped, and some of them are built for steam and operation. And if you like this video, please subscribe for more Guy and Jeremy videos on this channel. Bye bye.